report. I did have the information handed out that we requested from the DHS department. This is the map that was made at our request that reflects percentage-wise. Percentage-wise is different than raw numbers, obviously, because of the counties. But I think, most people would say if you've got 49% coming from another state, if you don't want to do this bill, what is our answer for solving the issue? Because I think there is an issue here. And you have the expertise that I'm not on this committee. And if this isn't the right issue, the right bill to solve the problem, what do we do? And I think Minnesotans are deserving an answer if it's not this one.
Thank you. Mr. Rusche.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Brian Rusche with the Joint Religious Legislative Coalition. Our coalition represents the Minnesota Council of Churches, the Minnesota Catholic Conference, the Jewish Community Relations Council, and the Islamic Center of Minnesota. We oppose House File 1036, which imposes a 12-month residency requirement and establishes a two-tiered safety net system, which is designed to offer less assistance to people who recently moved here if they had received public assistance in certain states. I know that this bill is here because it wants to address what is a perceived magnet problem, and I guess I'd like to underscore what Representative Liebling said is, do we have a definition of the problem that really works here? I think any serious study of this issue would have to include what number of people on public assistance in Minnesota move out of the state. What's the net effect? We're only looking at one side of the equation. We oppose this bill because it would certainly trigger a court case. Representative Huntley talked about that. We think in this time of economic crisis and budget deficits, it's just very worrisome to see us waste resources on a legal defense on a proposal that we believe is indefensible, not only on the federal constitutional level, the right to travel, but also Minnesota human rights law forbids discrimination on the basis of status of public assistance. And we would have differential treatment depending on the public assistance status of a person from another state. So for practical reasons, cost reasons, I don't think we've defined the problem well. And then finally, on moral reasons. Our religious communities minister on a daily basis to thousands of people, sheltering them overnight in our buildings and feeding them in our kitchens. And we're in direct contact and conversation with people. And we know the stories of people who have moved here because they're down on their luck, many of whom are fleeing for their well-being. This bill, I believe, and I know the author doesn't intend to, but I think it questions the motives of newcomers in an unfair way. And it would have the effect of further stigmatizing people in poverty. And it would make poverty all the more difficult to overcome because of the lesser benefit. Our community, I believe, is called to end poverty, not to make it worse. And this bill, along with the EBT restrictions bill, I think pours salts in the wounds of people who are already struggling. Now, it may be true in isolated cases that someone moves here to trade up welfare benefits, but I think that that is very isolated, and it's an anecdote that makes poor law. We believe that people move here because they perceive better opportunities, safer streets, and to be closer to relatives and friends, a story that should sound familiar to almost all of us. At the base of their decision is this: the freedom to declare a new domicile. And incidentally, Minnesota tax law says you're a Minnesota resident when you declare a new domicile. And for people that arrive here from other states, they pay sales tax and property tax through the form of rent on day one. They're under Minnesota law. This freedom to move about and to start over has an ancient meaning. Freedom is connected to home and to homecoming. And in the case of indigent people who are making a new home, we should at least offer equality under the law. And the clear standard in our traditions for whether we are a good and decent people is whether we're actually welcoming of the newcomer. We would prefer that the energy behind this bill go into efforts to streamline and make more effective our public benefit system. I have a copy of my testimony I'd like to distribute to the committee, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Ms. Mason, and we about 2 minutes if you could. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Rolanda Mason. I'm an attorney. I work for St. Cloud Area Legal Services, where I represent low-income people in central Minnesota. I'm here to speak against this provision. Racial